Mia was 19 when she met Sue at a neighborhood film series that screened quiet movies nobody else seemed to have time for. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a comment. Thanks so much for watching. Sue was 23, working at a small architecture studio down by the marina, always with graphite on the side of her hand. They met because the folding chairs were too close, and Sue shifted to make room. Their knees brushed, stayed like that. After the credits, Sue asked what Mia thought of the ending, and Mia admitted she liked the silence more than the plot. Sue grinned. Then you liked the point. They became the kind of couple that spent long hours doing simple things together: laundry, grocery runs, swapping playlists on the bus. They were affectionate in a way that felt both easy and concentrated. Kisses that started in doorways and ended against a bookshelf. Mia learned the smell of Sue's shampoo and the way she tucked hair behind her ear before every kiss, like clearing a workspace. They had sleepovers, sometimes on Sue's couch after too much wine at a friend's backyard party, sometimes at Mia's place with the standing fan rattling in the corner because summer refused to move on. They did everything but the thing Mia had secretly saved like a page folded in a book. She wanted it to be with someone she trusted. That part had arrived first, plain and undeniable. Sue's birthday was in late July. The city felt like a stovetop, and the air had that damp edge that made skin shine by noon. They planned a dinner at their favorite place near the harbor, a restaurant with open windows, and a staff that always pretended to be surprised to see them again. Mia told herself, after dinner, if everything still feels right, let it happen. Not because time had marched them there, but because she finally wanted to stop holding herself at the edge. Mia prepared the way she does everything, studiously, with lists nobody else saw. She bought a gift for Sue, a set of silk lingerie in a deep blue that matched Sue's preferred ink. The cut was simple, minimal hardware, nothing fussy. She tried to picture Sue opening the box, that strong, almost shy smile that tilted more to one side, the way she pressed her lips together when she felt touched by something she hadn't expected. Mia also bought something for herself, soft, light, almost nothing at all. She hid both in tissue paper and slid the smaller box inside the larger one, like a promise inside a promise. Then there was the reading. She didn't tell anyone she'd bought the book. She ordered it from the independent shop down the street, the one that wrapped purchases in brown paper and twine, as if every paperback deserved ceremony. Mia read the first chapter in the shade of a jacaranda tree and felt her face go warm, not from embarrassment, but from recognition. It was frank in a way that felt relieving. Halfway through, she finally noticed the subtitle and laughed out loud. "Huh," she said to nobody. So this was written with someone else in mind. She kept reading anyway. If the message was that the person giving attention should slow down, be patient, be curious, and prioritize the other person's reactions, well, that didn't belong to any one gender. She took notes in the margins. Start with comfort. Make it easy to say yes. Keep your mouth relaxed. Listen with your hands. Steady rhythm beats clever tricks. Pause on purpose. Check in without stopping the moment. She folded a page and wrote at the top, 3 assurances. Next to it, I want this. I'm not rushing. I love all of you. She practiced the assurances out loud in the mirror, cringing at herself and then trying again. She didn't need to say them word for word. She'd show them in pace and posture. She'd show them with how she held Sue, how she waited, how she paid attention. She even practiced her breathing, slow in, steady out, so she wouldn't speed everything up just because her heart did. At night, she replayed their near moments, the way Sue sometimes kissed like she was cataloging Mia's mouth. Top lip, bottom lip, the corner, the space at the jaw. The way Sue's hands, calloused from building models, were somehow careful on Mia's waist. Mia wanted to learn Sue in return, not in theory, but in detail. She reread a section on pacing and underlined a sentence about letting the receiver set the meter. She wrote in the margin, "Let Sue lead even when you're leading." That made sense to her. Offer, wait, follow the cue. She also took a walk to Sue's place when Sue was still at work, just to make sure she remembered the rhythm of the neighborhood. The building was a low stucco rectangle, painted a color that might have been white once. A lemon tree leaned over the fence with fruit already yellowing. Mia counted the steps from the porch to the living room, 8, and imagined bringing the gift inside. She pictured where to set it down. Coffee table, left corner, clear of the stack of design magazines. She liked knowing these things. It calmed her. The day before the dinner, Mia went to the market for flowers and fruit. She chose nectarines that yielded slightly to her thumb and a bunch of small sunflowers with dark centers. She wasn't sure if they would make it to Sue's apartment or if she'd chicken out and leave them in her own kitchen. But she wanted the option. She spent the afternoon at home, door propped open for breeze, trying on the thing she'd bought for herself and then covering it with a simple dress. Thin straps, olive green, back open. It was the kind of dress that only made sense in places where the nights stayed warm. Her phone buzzed. Message from Sue. Tomorrow 7? Same place? Mia replied, yes. Happy almost birthday. Don't eat all day. Sue, tempting. What are you plotting? You'll see. When Mia arrived at the restaurant the next evening, Sue was already there, elbow on the window ledge, eyes on the street, as if she'd been watching for Mia from a block away. She wore a white button-down rolled at the sleeves and jeans that had seen too many site visits. She always looked like a person who could both sketch you a house and fix the hinge on your gate. Mia felt that little stolen step her body sometimes took around Sue, a tiny catch that wasn't quite nerves anymore. Birthday girl, Mia said softly into her ear as she leaned down for a kiss. It was a quick one because the server was right there, but the look afterward wasn't quick at all. Dinner was uncomplicated and perfect. Grilled fish, blistered peppers, a carafe of something cold that fogged the glasses. They talked about small things first, the neighbor's midnight karaoke, the dog that refused to cross the intersection at 3rd, and then, like always, found the current that carried them to the real stuff. Sue talked about a model she'd worked on that kept collapsing because the glue was wrong for the material. You have to match the method to what you're trying to hold together, she said, then laughed. That sounded like a fortune cookie. Mia told a story about her little cousin insisting that Mia's freckles were sprinkles, and how she now couldn't unhear it when Sue traced them with a fingertip. Sue reached across the table and ran her thumb over Mia's knuckles. Sprinkles, she said, deadpan, and Mia's face did that warmth thing again. The gift stayed under the table until dessert, when Mia slid the wrapped box onto Sue's lap. Sue blinked, surprised. You already bought dinner. This is different, Mia said. Sue opened the paper carefully, like she saved good wrapping for later. When the lid lifted, the silk caught the light like water. For a half second, Sue's mouth opened and then closed again, and the color rose from her collar to her cheeks. She looked up, laughter and something gentler mixing in her eyes. Mia, do you like it? I love that you picked it. Sue closed the box slowly, as if not ready to stop looking. You know you didn't have to, she started, then stopped again when Mia tilted her head and smiled. The small, certain kind of smile that doesn't need permission. I wanted to, Mia said. The rest of the meal blurred a little for her. She remembered the sound of Sue's fork against the plate, the hum of the fans in the open windows, the faint salt in the air. But mostly she remembered the anticipation that hummed in her chest. Not a rush, not nerves, but something like standing at the edge of a pool and knowing the water will feel exactly the way you've been hoping. They walked back through streets that still held the heat of the day. Sue's hand found hers without looking, and Mia matched her steps. When they reached Sue's building, Sue pushed open the gate with her shoulder and let Mia step in first. Inside, Sue flicked on the small lamp by the sofa, its warm light catching on the spines of books and the edges of scattered models. "Want a drink?" she asked. "Water," Mia said, setting her bag down on the coffee table. She didn't sit. She waited until Sue came back with 2 glasses, and then she handed her the smaller box she'd kept aside. Sue opened it and looked up with the kind of expression Mia had been waiting for all night, equal parts surprise and softness. She didn't say anything right away. She just set the lid aside and reached up to touch Mia's cheek. "You're full of plans," she said quietly. Mia felt the air between them change. Not heavier, not lighter, just charged. She remembered her notes from the book. Start with comfort. So she stepped in close, hands at Sue's waist, and kissed her slowly. No rush. She wanted Sue to feel the choice in every second. Sue responded in kind, her mouth warm, her hands steady, tracing Mia's back like she was mapping it. They didn't break apart quickly. When they did, Sue kept one hand at the base of Mia's neck. "You sure?" she asked, her voice low. Mia nodded. "I've been sure." In Sue's bedroom, the curtains were half drawn, letting in the muffled glow from the street. Mia remembered the next note she'd made. Make it easy to say yes. She didn't dive in. She touched Sue through the thin fabric of her shirt, letting her fingertips read the lines of her body like braille. Every time she felt a shift, a breath catching, a hand tightening on her hip, she paused just enough to let it register, then followed it. Sue's shirt came off first. The blue silk followed, settling on her skin like it belonged there. Mia couldn't stop the small sound that left her throat. She wanted to memorize the sight before her hands even moved again. She thought about what she'd read. Keep the pace steady, don't crowd, let each movement mean something. She ran her palms slowly up Sue's sides, over her ribs, learning the exact shape of her breath. Sue's hands found Mia's dress straps and slipped them down, her eyes flicking up as if asking again. "Yes," Mia said, more breath than word. They kissed again, longer now, until Mia's pulse softened into the rhythm she'd practiced. She kept her mouth relaxed, her touch calculated. She learned quickly what made Sue lean into her, what made her exhale through her nose, what made her fingertips press harder at Mia's back. She used those cues as her map. When Sue's head tipped back, Mia followed the line of her throat with her lips, slow and unhurried. She remembered a line from the book about listening with your hands, and so she did. Palms open, fingers spread, catching every shift in muscle, every tremor. Sue whispered her name once, then again, her tone changing the second time. Not a question anymore, but something closer to gratitude. Mia took her time. She alternated between kissing, touching, pausing. She learned that stillness could be as powerful as movement, that the quiet between breaths could carry its own weight. She never rushed past the places where Sue lingered. She stayed, letting each reaction deepen before moving on. When Sue's hand slid into her hair, Mia met her eyes. She didn't need to ask if Sue was close. She could feel it in the way her body moved, in the way her breathing shortened. She slowed, kept the rhythm consistent, steady enough to let the moment crest naturally. Sue's release came quietly, in the tension of her shoulders melting, in the long breath she let out against Mia's temple. Mia stayed close, easing the pace until the tremors faded. Sue pulled her in then, wrapping both arms around her, holding on like the space between them might disappear if she let go. Mia didn't say anything. She just breathed with her, matched to the same slow in, steady out she'd practiced. Only now it was real, shared. When Sue finally spoke, her voice was thick. "Mia, you said it was your first time." It was. Mia pulled back enough to see her face. I just wanted to make it good for you. Sue gave a small, incredulous laugh. You were confident. I wasn't expecting that. I read, Mia said, smiling faintly. A lot. Took notes. Watched things. I took it seriously. Sue shook her head in wonder, then kissed her again. Soft, slow, like the night still had hours left for them. They didn't talk about moving in together right away. The first night had been enough, filling every quiet corner between them for weeks afterward. They fell asleep tangled in the mild summer air, the hum of the street drifting in through the half-open window. In the morning, Mia woke first and just watched Sue sleep. The softened angles of her face, the way one hand stayed curled against Mia's hip like she was still holding her there in a dream. By September, the logistics made sense. Mia's lease was ending, and Sue's apartment had more space than she ever really used. One evening over dinner, Sue set down her glass and said, You know, if you wanted to stay here, officially, I wouldn't hate it. It was framed casually, but the way her thumb ran over the rim of her glass gave her away. Mia agreed without hesitation. The weeks that followed felt like learning a new language by immersion. They shared a closet, a bathroom sink, a kitchen counter that became their breakfast table. It wasn't just proximity, it was rhythm. They learned how the other moved through a day, where they liked to be touched in passing, how much silence felt good before one of them broke it. In the bedroom, the ease from that first night carried forward, but it didn't stay static. Mia's first goal had been to make Sue feel noticed, to give without rushing, to prioritize her. Now, living together, that goal stretched into exploration. They made a habit of asking without asking, finding ways to check in that didn't break the moment. Sometimes Sue would pause and tilt her head slightly, an unspoken "here" that Mia would answer by staying or shifting. Other times, Mia would change her pace just to feel the difference in Sue's breathing. Learning which patterns invited her deeper in, Mia discovered things she hadn't noticed before. The faint scar at Sue's hip, the way her breath caught at a kiss just below her jawline, the subtle press of her legs when she was close. She treated these not as tricks to deploy, but as details in a map they were still drawing together. Sue, in turn, began to mirror Mia's approach. She picked up the patience, the attention to response, the intentional pauses. She began asking in her own way, tracing Mia's back until she felt her muscles soften, then continuing there until the shift became something more. The heat of the climate meant they often stayed uncovered at night, skin on skin, the air thick but bearable with the ceiling fan turning lazily overhead. They'd lie like that for long stretches, touching without rush, letting desire build at its own pace. Some nights it would crest into something urgent and breathless. Other nights it stayed slow, a shared drift into sleep with hands still linked. One evening, months after Mia had moved in, Sue lay back against the pillows and watched her with a look Mia had learned to read. Not purely want, but curiosity. You still have that book? Sue asked. Mia laughed, propping herself on an elbow. The one that wasn't written for me? That one, yeah. Why? Sue's smile was small but deep. Because I think whatever you took from it worked better than the author probably imagined. You really taught me something that night. Mia felt that warmth again, the same she'd had the first time she kissed Sue with the plan in her head. It wasn't just that night. I'm still learning you. Sue reached up and pulled her down, their foreheads touching. Then don't stop. They didn't. Over the months, they kept folding new layers into their connection. New touches, new rhythms, new ways of telling each other without words exactly what they wanted. The foundation stayed the same. Patience, attention, a willingness to make the other person the center of the moment. And in the thick heat of those long evenings, with the fans spinning overhead, and the streetlight glow slipping past the curtains. They found themselves in a place neither of them had quite been before. Not just close, but known.